Hi and welcome. I'm Wendy and I'm so glad you've joined me for the ABC Challenge. Let me explain a little bit about how this came about. I'm really wanting to increase the number of YouTube videos I do, so I needed something to push me to really do it daily and to get to know the software that I'm using. So I thought, well, a month-long challenge daily would be pretty good. But how can I make it better for me? I have a tendency to jump around. I get bored of stuff after a couple days, and then then start something new. So for me, the alphabet left a wide range of possibilities. It could be whatever inspires me for that letter. It could be a technique. It could be a medium. It could be a style. It just really left a lot of variety. That's what kind of put me on this path. Hopefully you enjoy this challenge as much as I'm sure I will be. Be sure to like, comment, share. I'd really appreciate it if you did. And make sure to leave, if you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer or respond to any of those. Hello and welcome to video number 4 in the series for the ABC Challenge. For the letter D, I'm going to be showing you how I do, or what my process is for distressed backgrounds. I would say that's probably my style. If you check out my blog or you've seen me in groups, my style is definitely, very grungy, many layers. I love the water look. So I figured today, I know the previous ones have been pretty long, so I'm going to keep this one hopefully really short for you. And I'm not going to do full projects, but I am just going to show you 2 different ways that I can, how I achieve this background. So I'll do one with some stenciling and my layers, and then I'll also be doing one with more of like a full background stamp, and how you can get that to bleed into the paper and look like it's been around forever. So I hope you enjoy it, and yeah, let's get going. Okay, so I'm working on Canson 140-pound watercolor paper, cut down to 4.5 by 6 inches, and I'm just taking some of the regular distress ink. In right now is Worn Lipstick, and I'm just trying to get a base color on there. Now is Chip Sapphire, and then I'm going to use Rusty Hinge also. And I'm not worried about any of those lines or blending or anything. I just need a base of color to work with. So now I've got the Stencil Lattice number THS019, and this is called positive stenciling. So I'm just going directly through the stencil to give more of a solid look. Now if I take and add some water, it's going to give me what they call the negative stencil technique. So I'm just going directly onto the stencil. I'm going to spritz it lightly with a real fine mist of water, and then press it into the cardstock. And it looks really bright right now, but it definitely lightens up quite a bit. Now I'm taking stripes and doing the same thing, only I'm not going to do the positive. I'm only going to do the negative, and I want the oxides because they're more opaque. So I'm using Worn Lipstick Oxide. And don't let that go to waste. Definitely, have a mop-up tag ready to use up all that ink that is left on the stencil. And now I'm feeling like this is just a little too bright, a little too colorful, so I am going to do the same technique but with strictly only water. And this is really, it's going to reactivate and loosen that ink that's underneath, so you can lift it up to brighten, to brighten that ink a little bit. So now I'm going to use some oxide in worn lipstick for the splatters, and I have this really old brush that holds a bunch of water and is really flexible. So I'm going to just hit it against a pen, which is going to give a great impact and deposit more of that watery ink and splatter around. You could also flick with water, straight water, that adds that nice look. So there's the completed piece that just needs a little bit more distressing depending on what your project's going to be, but isn't that just gorgeous? I love that brightness and that just that vintage kind of distress style. Just can do those all day, really can. So now I'm going to show the process of a more neutral vintage kind of almost looking like a stone wall or wood. So I'm starting with brushed pewter distress paint. I've got walnut stain in oxides and hickory smoke, and I'm just adding some water, spreading it around, and I'm going to dip my manila tag into that. I'm using a tag because it's got a great coating on there, so I'm really going to be able to play and manipulate the the inks and the paint. Now I'm just kind of looking around to see where I need maybe some more product added to it, just to give it the dimension I'm looking for. And the nice thing about using that distress paint in there is it's going to end up acting once it's dry as a resist, because it is an acrylic paint. So when we add the inks directly to it, we're going to be able to wipe it off, which you'll see. And now I'm just so I've got the mop-up tag, which I'm still using to collect all that ink so none of it goes to waste. Now after this is dry, look at how cool that is. The paint actually ended up cracking in some areas, which gave it a really, really cool effect. Now I'm going to apply some of my inks with the applicator. So I'm adding evergreen bough to the mix to give it that nice blue kind of patina kind of look. And evergreen bough is a real nice color because it's got a bit of a greenish hue to it. It's pretty cool. And now I'm just here, I'm wiping off that ink off of the brushed pewter paint. So I'm using a baby wipe, but I find that it's too wet, so sometimes I'll just lightly spritz some paper towel. I don't want to remove too much of the ink, just off of the paint. You can see there are all the different dimensions to the paint and the ink, which kind of makes it look like it's just layers and layers of years and years of erosion and weather, and it's pretty cool. And again, I'm just adding, I wanted some more blue in there and wanted to be able to control it a little bit more, so I am mixing oxide and ink of the evergreen bough. Got some splatters that I like to use with that brush because again, it's really flexible. It gives me some nice splatters. Okay, so instead of the word, I decided to go with numeric by Stampers Anonymous Tim Holtz. So I'm just inking up with some walnut stain in the regular ink and using the stamp platform. And what I want to happen now is I'm going to be spritzing it with water, and I want what is called wicking, or Tim Holtz calls it like wicking, where that ink kind of starts to spread. And so that's why I used this first, and I left the tag in the platform because I'm going to now, once this dries, I'm going to be adding ground espresso archival ink, slightly like rubbing it across the stamps because I don't want a harsh image. I just want it to look really tattered, and but I want it to be permanent, and it's going to sit right on top of that distress ink, and so it just gives it a nice dimension. And then I'm just slightly rubbing it off while it's still wet. I can remove some of it off the brushed pewter. So I'm just looking, and I really like how that turned out. It looks like each layer took a little piece off of those numbers, but there is one final step. I like to go in with a couple kind of grits of sandpaper and just rough up those edges a little bit and remove some of that ground espresso so it's not quite so harsh, and just randomly going you know, and adding in some scratches, and there you have it. I'm loving it, and it's ready for some embellishments. Oh, yep, and the Tim Holtz Distress Tool, can't be without that. So there's the basic idea, or my basic process of you know, getting a nice distressed background. I'm gonna finish up with some embellishments just for pictures. But I hope you found some tips, or maybe I don't know, a step in there maybe you want to give a try.